Hi, everybody. Welcome to Stars and Pearls. I'm so happy that you found your way here. I hope you click like, subscribe, and share, and that you drop a comment in the comment section below. I'm Carly and Love, your host. And I'm here to talk about mediumship. So, this is the first level that we're going to dive into in the Psychic Senses series of combining all those senses, combining your psychic senses to work in a more expanded way, right? So what is mediumship? We're going to dive into that, the difference between mediumship and psychic ability and channeling. We're going to dive into that as well. And what is mediumship good for? Like, why would people want to talk to dead people? Well, let's have a look. So number one is I just want to read you a quick note that I wrote on my phone back when I was trying to, sort out, why do I do what I do? Why do I feel like mediumship is a good thing? And we'll also have a little bit of a touch if it's the work of the devil. And I'll pin a link and I'll put a link in the description box below where I actually wrote a sway. You'll see what a sway is if you don't know. But I did a sway on, is Jesus okay with mediumship? Because there's so much confusion around the topic, And yeah, so I explain in this way everything. So you just go check it out. I won't take up too much space in this video talking about that. But why I love mediumship. Number one, mediumship has always been special to me because it's so grounding. It's grounding in the true love and connection that people have between each other. It reminds us that our time here is finite, but ourselves are not. And it raises the questions in our soul how we want to show up as an infinite being in a finite world. I like mediumship because so many hearts have hardened to become jaded and cynical in the world that we live in and we have to endure in, but it's been hard to open up to spiritual flows. It's hard to really know and trust and know what to believe and know what to discern is real in the world. And it's hard sometimes to truly let God in because everyone has an expectation of an image of God, even though it is said not to make an image of me. And so I believe personally that if God came down right now and landed on the couch in front of you, that many people would say, "Oh, I don't recognize you because you don't fit the image that I have." But how can an imperfect being know what a perfect being is, right? How can that even? But, anyways, so mediumship is a bridge to remind us of spirituality, the realness of consciousness past death. Um, because it works with validations. So there is no true jump involved or risk, as in A Course in Miracles. Course in Miracles also states in the question 25 in a handbook for teachers, are psychic gifts desirable? And in A Course in Miracles, Jesus answers and says, anything that is given to the Holy Spirit can be used for the glory of God. And so yes, right? And that he states that psychic mediumship is an expanded form of communication. And just because a group of people have limited their communications and so their receiving of miracles doesn't mean that those are the only communication channels that are right or open to mankind. So back to my notes though. So yeah, the realness of consciousness past death awareness, because it works with validation, so there's no true jump involved or risk, and can provide closure, healing, and certainty because of the validations that are involved with it, because of the validation of names, states of being, shared memories, looks, things that a medium could not know, and sometimes even you as the recipient of the reading. You have to go home and check on the information. And then when you receive validation for that, that's a click in your consciousness that there's something more that's going on here. So while there are mediums that have that gift and their spiritual ego pushes them into one-upping or making this gift seem like it's so special or feelings of competition. Even in this case, it's still a tool for good in the hands of spirit, a tool of teaching, a form of sharing, the form of opening doors and pathways in the mind and in the experience that maybe weren't there before. And that's one of the many reasons why I love mediumship. It is truly unifying, not separating into levels and defining ascension pathways or anything like that. It is truly of spirit. Okay. So with time and consistency utilizing these channels, they will open up reliably and safely in a balanced way, further healing in your world and in the world around you. Okay. So yeah, I'll write down the notes that I wrote on because I am giving a healing mediumship night. Make sure that you check that out every now and then. In the description box, you'll find a link, or I'll talk about it in my other videos. These mediumships nights are private groups, Zoom groups, and we dive into the world beyond. Ooh. So anyways, onto mediumship. What is it? For those of you that don't know what it is the communication with consciousness after death. And there are many different ideas around that. Many different people will state different things. I do believe personally, due to personal experiences, that yes, you can communicate with people after they have passed on, simply because we are not our bodies. We are the consciousness, or rather, we're not the consciousness either. We're the awareness that utilizes the consciousness, travels through the consciousness that resides within, around, or through this body, through this vehicle, in this 3D realm and dimension. And so when we're speaking about speaking with the dead, we're not really speaking with the dead there, because there is no death. We're speaking with life, and life communicates with life. And so it's kind of a misnomer to say that we're speaking with dead people. Now, there are people that believe that we only communicate with fragments of consciousness that have been cast away or cast aside. That would be ghosts, and you can't communicate with ghosts. And it does happen after death that certain layers of consciousness are released, cast off, like a rocket flying into the into the night sky. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and these shells that are cast off can be read, and we can see the recording in the space-time of the location where it was dropped. And especially if it was traumatic, there was a lot of emotional energy around it that still sustains, it can sustain itself from for some time. So whether that be negative energy or joyous energy, and we call these ghosts, right? Because you can't really interact with them. It's just a recording that keeps looping over and over again. The woman walking with a head underneath her arm, the woman in white crossing the road. It's a ghost. It's a recording of what occurred at that space and time. But if you are sensitive and you pick that up, it can be quite spooky. So, but there is a communication, and it has been proven time and again with energies that reside outside of this physical realm, and it is possible. And so there are places you can develop your mediumship, of course, in my mediumship groups, my psychic development groups, which I will be getting going again now that I'm more here. But also in places, spiritualist churches, spiritism churches, things of that nature, they do develop mediums in these things as well. So the difference between mediumship and psychics, let's start there, because there's so much to be said about mediumship. So the difference between, there are even different kinds of mediums. So the difference between psychic and medium is that, as you've heard before, I'm sure of it, every medium is a psychic. And this is why I put mediumship first in the beyond in our psychic series senses, of using all your psychic gifts and abilities to be able to do mediumship. So you'll be clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, clairaugustant, clairsalient, and you'll be receiving through these channels the messages from spirit. But a psychic is not necessarily a medium. Why? Because psychics read your energy field. They read your memory banks, telepathy, memory field, aura field, everything to do with you. Their information is coming out of your energy field to them. And that's not a bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing, but it's not mediumship if we're just reading your memories. Mediumship is communicating with a spirit from the beyond that steps into the aura field of the medium, relays information to the medium then brings the information to you. So that means that the medium can bring through information that you're not aware about. You just don't know. And some things you even forget because you completely saw things completely differently. And so what I'll give you as an example for once, one example is, and I keep quoting this all the time because it is such a stark example of how people operate in the world. I was giving a mediumship session with grandchildren that had a grandmother that passed away, and they missed this grandmother. And so the grandmother came through, which was beautiful because there was a lot of love. And I explained that in the mediumship development, that love is the bridge. The more emotional connection, love connection that you have with the spirit, the easier it is for the medium to relay the message and communicate. So the more difficult it becomes when it's just a curiosity seek. So in any case, the grandmother came through, the messages came through quite clearly, but the grandmother was reiterating that she was in so much pain. And this is when the kids stepped back. They clinked out of them and they're looking at each other and like, no, she wasn't in pain. And I was like, well, she was in the hospital. Yeah, yeah. She passed away in the hospital. Yeah, yeah. She received morphine in the hospital. Yeah, yeah. Well, what's morphine for? Right? So it's like their brains didn't make the connect because their grandmother came from that culture, that time where you didn't talk about your pain, you didn't express your pain. So their memory was grandma wasn't in pain. And but she was there suffering. So there's mediumship helps bridge that. So there's a lot of allowing that needs to happen in receiving mediumship messages, because the messages, again, are not coming out of your memory banks. They're coming out from the people, from the spirit that is stepping into the aura energy or the auric field of the medium to relay that information to others. So they can bring through information that the others don't know and weren't aware of. But when they go back and check, then it falls into place, makes sense, or shows up completely. So then the next thing is with mediumship is that for mediumship to occur, the spirit world lowers their frequency. And because we're all in different, we're swimming in different levels. Let's see if you see a lake, right? And this type of fish likes to be, all the way at the bottom of the lake. This type of fish likes to swim just under the surface, and so on and so forth. You can see it like that. So everything inhabits a different frequency field, and the spirit world lowers their frequency because they're very high vibrational. This is why when you go into mediumship groups, usually it starts off with lifting the energy through laughter, through joy, because that's the spirit world, is laughter and joy and high vibrational realms. Of course, there are other lower vibrational realms, but we don't necessarily want to work with that unless you've been called to do that, right? Or unless that is your pathway in mediumship. But the higher vibrational realms, high vibrations come through joy, laughter, love, expansion, freedom, trust, right? So there's a lot of trust that is necessary in mediumship. And it can be even dangerous if a field of non-trust or constant doubt is built up for the medium. And mediums have passed away from not being able to regulate those energies. And you can read about that. It's very well explained in many different publications from the spiritualist, predominantly National Union. You can Google that. And it's a group in the UK that provides information and training on this subject. And they've been doing that for over 100 years now, or close to. So in any case, the spirit world lowers their vibration, the medium raises their vibrational frequency, and the audience as well, the group as well. And so you will enter into this, it'll be high vibe, there'll be music playing, people are going to be laughing and, bringing the energy up. And as the energy rises and the spirit world lowers, we meet somewhere in the middle where a communication can happen, where a communication can be passed on. So how does that communication show up? Again, most mediums nowadays are mental mediums, the really old time mediums that didn't have the distractions of the modern world and the electromagnetic smog that we're all living in that is affecting our energy fields, our aura fields. But also living in a different consciousness of the times, right? They were able to do other things with their mediumship, especially because they were also more dedicated. And they sat literally every week, same time, same day for years to get some kind of movement forward, some kind of message, some kind of energy field buildup that prove to them, whoa, this is real, or something is happening here that is out of the norm. Another thing with traditional mediumship circles is that they develop one medium, and everybody else in the circle showed up consistently every week, same time, same place, to support the development of that one medium. And nowadays, everybody wants to be the star, right? So if they're not the star, then they fall off. They don't show up, and then nothing happens, and then they say it doesn't work. So it's a different era, it's a different working, it's a different time. So most mediums nowadays are mental mediums, but there are also physical mediums and trance mediums, right? So the trance mediums are the ones such as Edgar Cayce, which would go into a trance, go into a deep sleep, and they allow their personality to fall down, to fall away, to step back, so that another entity can move through them and communicate. And the physical mediums are the ones which bring out the ectoplasm, that's what it's called, through which the spirit can take shape and form and be seen by other sitters. There are also mediums that draw. They draw or paint the spirits that they see. And there are several different kinds of mediumship. You can explore them. You can also test it out for yourself to see what is more your inclination, if this is a topic that interests you. But one thing that mediumship isn't is scary. It's not a scary thing. There are some rules, and for your own personal safety, if you're not ready to be a trance medium or you haven't been properly trained, please do not think it's a joke and just allow any random energy to move through your field. Respect your life, respect your energy field. Sometimes later on, it's something where you wished, okay, I hadn't done this. Then I wouldn't have had this experience. I wouldn't have had these thoughts. I wouldn't have gotten into these depressions, and I wouldn't have gone through this. It's just a pathway that I didn't need to take. So there are other, things that you learn in proper mediumship training that will help you. And there's the thing there with mediumship training where it's kind of difficult because, again, a lot of times to sell the courses, it's become more of an ego booster than a real training. So it's become less popular to be one of the more traditional mediums, which really lays value on certain things. But it's maybe it's part of the evolution and the growth process. And I don't know. I'm not judging. I'm just noting. I'm just noticing. So it's up to you. You see what's more for you, and which pathway you feel you develop more on. The main two schools of mediumship are the spiritualist, the UK school, and the American school. And of course, there's also the Spiritism, the school of Spiritism, which is predominantly it came out of France through Allan Kardec and now finds itself predominantly in Brazil and South America. And it's very similar, very, very similar to spiritualism, but there are a few key differences. However, it's pretty much based on the same things, and both these directions are based on channeled writings from spirits as well from the other side that were channeled through highly complex writings and channelings detailing what the spirit world looks like. So what is mediumship good for? In the beginning, I spoke about that, but to reiterate again, it proves the survival of consciousness after death. And through that, it gives closure, hope, help, and healing to people on this side of the veil or on the other side of the veil. It's a fantastic tool to assist with grieving, but also to release things, grudges, resentments, all kinds of things, misunderstandings that people have been holding on to. It usually tends to boost people and give them a sense of liberation from topics that have been tying their souls in knots so that they can move on again, whether on this side of the veil or the next. And it's a unifying, I find, modality, because once you really grasp that life continues after death, there is no such thing as death, and that's a false concept that we've all bought into and developed here, but that there is a constant change, right? Yes, it changes your perspective of yourself, your priorities, your entire life. So mediumship is one of the more valuable tools. I do feel that's why it's so attacked as well. And but it can also be misused. And that is clear. I don't need to get into that, how it can be misused or by whom, when, why. But generally speaking, I find it to be a beautiful way of connecting with spirit. Okay, so that's that on mediumship, and I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions whatsoever that you feel that I didn't cover or that were unanswered, just write them in the description box below this video or in the comment section. I'll try to answer them there. But you can also sign up for the mediumship night, which is coming up next after you watch this video by just checking my website or checking a recent video or checking this video in this case, you know, and I'll see you there hopefully. Take care. Bye.